Canadian media visionary Moses Znaimer is best known for his outstanding achievements in television, his contributions to the Canadian music industry, and now for his ongoing role as a champion for Canada's almost 15 million baby boomers. Internationally, he is best known as the founder of over 20 independent television stations, champion of diversity, and established hiring practices that reflected Canada's multicultural, pluralistic society. Long before it became politically correct or legally required, Mr. Znaimer placed a long range of ethnicities in prominent on-air positions. Similarly, Moses was the first to hire and showcase reporters with physical disabilities. David Onley, a polio survivor and the current Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, was hired in 1984 as a weather and science specialist. In addition to his position at CARP, Moses is the founder and CEO of Zoomer Media Limited, the first diversified media company uniquely devoted to serving the 45+. Zoomer Media also owns and operates Vision TV, Canada's only channel that airs multi-faith, multicultural, and iconic family entertainment. In 2008, Marketing Magazine named Moses Znaimer one of the top 10 Canadian media moguls of the past 100 years. That same year, the City of Toronto awarded Moses the distinction of which he is most proud. It designated the famous downtown stretch of Queen Street in front of the former City TV building at 299 Queen Street West, Moses Znaimer Way. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium Moses Znaimer.
That distinction conferred upon me by the City Council has also been conferred upon about a half dozen other individuals, but I am pleased to say that I'm the only one who's still alive. So you've now heard several times reference to the story of how I came to learn about David, how I met him, and how I offered him that job without ever asking him about his disability. And while it's true that what I did in that moment was the right thing, what I would like to do with these few moments that I have with you is explain to you why it was also the smart thing. At the time, there were no studies, there was no data, there was no court decree, there was no powerful public opinion. There was just my own intuitive and intimate knowledge of the truth of the observation that if it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. And that it's only in the grind of opposing forces under tremendous pressure that the diamond is made. So I was the product of two frightened Jewish kids who met on the run. She was from Poland, he was from Latvia. They were each the sole survivors of their respective families. And they were on the run as the German war machine and the Nazi Holocaust worked its murderous way east. In the full flood of the Second World War, with no home, no job, no local contacts, and no prospects, he got her pregnant. What were they thinking? And so they sat out the war in a mud hut village in a place called Kulyab, Tajikistan, and that's where I was born, and where her higher education and math and his resourcefulness saved our lives. When the war ended, the trek recommenced, this time westward, through many devastated landscapes, until finally we washed up in a displaced persons camp in the western zone of occupied Germany. And it was from there that one distant relative was found alive in a funny-sounding place called Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Now, why am I telling you all of this, you may be asking? In an essay on my early years published in a volume called Passages, which was put out by the Dominion Institute, I made the following observation. For a child, being stateless, on the run, is not all bad. You see the world, you pick up languages, you hear different types of music and eat a variety of foods. You begin to understand the richness of the world and the joys that can be had from being open to all kinds of peoples and cultures. Even before I started grade school, I'd already survived a hazardous trip that had crossed many borders, and these experiences left me a cocky little kid with a very strong sense of myself. Yes, I was aware that we were alone in the world and that there were malevolent forces out there that wanted to kill us. And yes, over the years, I've learned of the tragic history of my people, and yet, all around me, I could also see the amazing record of overachievement of that people in the arts, in the sciences, in business. So when I decided to hire David that day, I flashed on all of that and knew that I was in fact making a pretty safe bet, a smart bet, on the likelihood that David Onley would rise to the occasion and perfectly fill the important and highly symbolic opportunity that I was placing before him. I knew that I was betting on not just someone who was going to do as well as anybody else, not just someone who could be good enough, but someone with something extra, a deep focus and a powerful drive that cannot be created in any other way. Just to cope with their situation, even the most ordinary person with a disability must become extraordinary. And that way, challenge is turned into a springboard. The logic that drives such people is if you're coming from behind, you've got to run that much faster and harder. And once you're in motion, well, that very momentum can carry you right to the top. Almost everyone who is remembered for their greatness has had to overcome some obstacle in their path. Their perseverance is akin to a kind of obstinacy. If they suffer weakness in one faculty or area, they must compensate in another. What ties all these people together is a knack for seeing opportunity in the apparently crappy hand that they've been dealt. They display a veritable genius for exchanging the pessimism that you might expect for an amazing optimism. David talked about Helen Keller, perhaps the most famous handicapped person in all of history. Well, here's what she wrote. She said, "No pessimist ever discovered the secret of the stars, or sailed to an uncharted land, or opened a new doorway for the human spirit." She wrote, "I thank God for my handicaps, for through them I found myself and my work and my God." So the man we're honoring here today has achieved precisely what Teddy Roosevelt had in mind when he said, "Do what you can with what you have." And my version of that same thought is, the purpose of life is to get better no matter where you start, no matter what you're given. Your job, and in fact, your glory, is to better yourself and to make things better for those around you. And so, to the world out there, I say, as exceptional as David Onley is and as inspiring as is his story, he'd be the first to tell you that there's lots more like him out there. Any community is only as strong as it is diverse. The perspective, the tenacity that people with disabilities need to succeed often leads to original insights, and society would be well served to foster that resource. Thanks very much.